Chosen one. God said, I need to talk to you. I need you to hear what I am about to say, because this message was not placed in your path by accident. You did not stumble upon this. You were led here. And the fact that you are still reading these words right now tells me everything I already knew about you. I have been trying to reach you, not through loud signs or dramatic events, through the quiet, through that strange stillness that has been following you for days, maybe weeks. That feeling you cannot name, the one that sits between your ribs like a weight you never asked to carry. You thought it was just stress, you thought it was exhaustion, but it was me, pressing pause on your chaos so you could finally hear my voice without distortion. When I say, I need to talk to you, understand. This is not a phrase I use lightly. I do not interrupt without reason. I do not call without purpose. And I certainly do not pull someone out of the noise of their own life just to whisper empty comfort. I stopped you because something inside you has reached a limit, a wall, a breaking point that you have been decorating with smiles and productivity so no one would notice. But I noticed. I saw you swallow the tears. I saw you answer, I'm fine, when your chest was on fire. I saw you show up for everyone else while quietly falling apart in rooms where no one was watching. And I waited, not because I did not care, but because the moment had to be right. This moment. Right here, right now. This is not motivation. This is not inspiration. This is an interruption from the throne room of heaven, and it carries weight that your spirit already recognizes, even if your mind is still catching up. So do not leave. Do not skip ahead. Do not let the enemy convince you that this is not for you, because everything I am about to say in the next few minutes was written with your name on it long before you pressed play. If you feel that this is your moment, if something inside you just shifted, even slightly, I need you to anchor this right now. Comment below, I stopped to listen. Write it as a declaration, not a reaction. Because what comes next will explain exactly why heaven refused to let you keep walking in silence. There is something most people will never understand about you, and it is not because they are cruel or indifferent. It is because the weight you carry does not make noise. It does not announce itself when you walk into a room. It does not leave bruises anyone can see. It just sits there, heavy, constant, familiar, pressing down on your shoulders like a second skeleton made of everything you never said out loud. You have been carrying it for so long that you forgot what it feels like to stand without it. Think about that for a moment. When was the last time you woke up and your first thought was not a problem to solve, a person to worry about, or a fear to manage? When was the last time your chest felt light, truly light, without needing a reason, without needing permission, without needing to earn it? You probably cannot remember. And that right there is the proof that this conversation was never optional. It was necessary. Because here is what no one told you. The weight was never yours to carry in the first place. You took it on because you are loyal. Because when someone you love is drowning, your instinct is not to watch, it is to jump. You took it on because somewhere along the way, you decided that being strong meant being silent, that being dependable meant being indestructible, that asking for help was the same as admitting failure. And so you built an entire life around holding things together for everyone else, while quietly coming apart in places no one checks. The late nights when sleep refuses to come. Not because you are not tired, but because your mind will not stop replaying conversations, decisions, regrets. The mornings when getting out of bed feels like dragging yourself out of deep water. The moments in the middle of the day when everything looks fine on the outside, but inside there is this scream trapped behind your ribs that you cannot release because you do not even know what it would say if you let it out. That is not strength, that is survival. And there is a brutal difference between the two. Strength walks forward with clarity. Survival just tries not to collapse before the day ends. And you have been surviving for so long that you started calling it living. But deep down, in that place where no mask reaches, you know the truth. You know that something has to change. You know that you cannot keep giving from an empty place and pretending the emptiness does not exist. This is exactly why this conversation is happening right now. Not to condemn the way you have been handling things, not to shame the coping mechanisms you built just to make it through, but to say clearly and without hesitation, you were never supposed to do this alone. Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you. 1 Peter 5:7, read that again. Not quickly, not casually. Let it land. It does not say, cast some of it. It does not say, cast the parts you are comfortable sharing. It says all, every sleepless night, every swallowed tear, every moment you smiled while breaking, every prayer you whispered that felt like it hit the ceiling and stopped. All of it. There is a place for all of it, and that place was never your chest. The invitation is open right now, not to pretend the pain does not exist, not to paste a verse over a wound and call it healed, but to finally set down what has been crushing you and let the one who sees everything, including the parts you hide from yourself, take it from your hands. You do not have to understand how it works. You do not have to feel worthy of the relief. You just have to be honest enough to admit, this is too heavy, and I cannot keep pretending it is not. If that is where you are right now, if your soul just exhaled for the first time in longer than you can remember, write it down. Comment, I surrender the weight. Let those words leave your fingers the same way the burden needs to leave your body. Because this conversation is not over, not even close. What comes next is not just about what you feel. It is about what will not be allowed to follow you into the next chapter of your life. And that changes everything. Something has been shifting inside you, and you know it. You have felt it in ways you cannot fully explain, not with words, not with logic, not with any framework the world has handed you. It is not sadness exactly. It is not depression. It is not even confusion, though that is probably the closest word you have reached for. It is something deeper, something structural, as if the very foundation you have been standing on for years has started to tremble, not to destroy you, but to force you to move, and that terrifies you, because you do not know where to go. Conversations that used to fill you now drain you before they even begin. Places that once felt like home now feel like borrowed rooms with walls closing in. People who once made sense in your life now feel like echoes of a version of yourself that no longer exists. And the hardest part is not the distance you feel from them. The hardest part is the guilt, because you still love them. You still remember what they meant. But something inside you has outgrown the shape of what was. And no amount of loyalty can force you back into a container that your spirit has already shattered from the inside out. This is not betrayal. This is not ingratitude. This is transition. And transition is the most misunderstood season in the entire journey of a chosen life. Because it looks like loss. It sounds like silence. It feels like abandonment. But it is none of those things. It is renovation. The kind that requires tearing down walls before new ones can rise. The kind that demands emptiness before fullness can mean anything real. You have been calling it confusion because no one gave you a better word. You have been calling it failure because the world only celebrates people who look like they have it all figured out. But heaven operates on a completely different language, and in that language, what you are living through right now has a name. It is called preparation, violent, uncomfortable, relentless preparation for something your current self is not yet equipped to carry. Think about what happens to metal before it becomes a blade. It is thrown into fire, not to be destroyed, but to be made moldable. Then it is hammered, struck again and again and again, not out of cruelty, but out of precision. Every blow removes what is excess. Every strike shapes what is essential. And only after the fire and the beating and the cooling does the blade hold its edge. That is you, right now, in the fire, under the hammer, feeling every blow and wondering if there is a purpose behind the pain. There is. And the purpose is sharper than anything you have ever carried before. The discomfort you feel is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are being restructured at a level most people never reach, because most people quit the fire before the shaping is done. Most people beg to go back to the version of themselves that was comfortable, even if that version was incomplete, even if that version was slowly dying under the weight of settling. But not you. You are still here, still standing in the middle of the flames, still breathing, still listening, and that alone separates you from the majority who turned back the moment the heat became real. Do not mistake the burning for punishment. Do not mistake the silence of heaven for the absence of heaven. Sometimes the loudest thing God can do is go quiet, because the quiet forces you to stop performing, stop pretending, stop filling the space with noise, and finally sit with the raw, unfiltered truth of who you are becoming. And who you are becoming terrifies the enemy. That is why the attacks have intensified. That is why the loneliness got louder. That is why the doubts multiplied right when you started to believe something bigger was possible. Because the darkness does not waste ammunition on people who are standing still. It only fires at those who are moving towards something that will shift the battlefield entirely. You are not losing your mind. You are losing the old version of it. You are not falling apart. You are falling away from everything that was built on sand so that what comes next can be built on rock. And that process, that brutal, beautiful, sacred process, cannot be rushed, cannot be skipped, and cannot be understood by anyone who has not walked through their own fire. So stop apologizing for the transition. Stop explaining your silence to people who only loved your performance. Stop shrinking back into old patterns just because the unfamiliar feels unsafe. The unfamiliar is where every single promise of God lives. On the other side of what you have never done before, in the territory you have never walked before, with a version of yourself you have never been before. If this is resonating in your chest right now, if you feel the fire and you finally understand that it was never meant to destroy you, then claim this moment. Write in the comments, God is changing my interior. Speak it out loud if you need to. Let it echo. Because what has been shifting inside you is not chaos, it is construction, and the architect does not make mistakes. What comes next will reveal exactly why this transition had to happen now, and why nothing from your old season will be permitted to cross over into what is being built ahead. Now listen carefully, because everything said up to this point was preparation for what you are about to hear. The weight was acknowledged. The transition was named. But this conversation was never just about explaining where you have been. It was always about revealing where you are going, and where you are going will require a version of you that does not yet fully exist, but is already being assembled, piece by piece, in the very fire you thought was destroying you. There are doors ahead of you that have not opened yet, not because they are locked, but because you are not yet ready to walk through them without dragging the old behind you. Doors of provision that would collapse under the weight of your anxiety if you carried it through. Doors of relationship that would be poisoned on day one if you entered still bleeding from loyalties that were never returned. Doors of purpose that would overwhelm and crush you if you stepped in still operating from survival instead of clarity. And that is the difference heaven is trying to install in you right now. The difference between surviving and seeing clearly. You have spent years reacting to pain, reacting to rejection, reacting to fear, building walls not because you wanted isolation, but because every time you opened yourself to something, it cost you something you could not afford to lose. And so your reflexes became your architecture. Every decision filtered through the question, what will hurt less? Not what is right, not what is true, not what is calling your name from the other side of obedience, just what will hurt less. But that operating system has an expiration date, and it has expired. You cannot navigate what is coming with the same reflexes that helped you survive what already happened. A soldier trained only to defend will not know what to do when the command is to advance. And the command right now, whether you feel ready or not, is to advance. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19. That question is not rhetorical. It is confrontational. Do you not perceive it? Can you not feel the edges of something emerging just beyond what your eyes can see? The subtle acceleration in your spirit. The dreams that started coming back. The ideas that flicker in your mind at hours when the world is asleep. The strange, unexplainable knowing that something is about to change, even when every visible circumstance still looks the same. That knowing is not wishful thinking. That knowing is prophetic. It is the echo of a future that has already been decided in the courts of heaven, reverberating backward into your present, so that your spirit can begin to align before your reality catches up. And the reason you feel tension is because your soul is caught between two timelines, the one that is ending and the one that is arriving. You are living in the Christ, standing in the Christ, and the stretch between who you were and who you are becoming is supposed to be uncomfortable. It is supposed to feel like too much, because it is pulling you forward with a force that your flesh was never designed to understand. But your spirit understands it perfectly. Your spirit already knows that certain relationships will not survive the crossing, not because those people are evil, but because their role in your story has reached its last page. Your spirit already knows that certain habits, the ones you cling to at midnight when the silence gets too loud, will have to be released. Not because they are unforgivable, but because where you are headed demands hands that are free to receive. Your spirit already knows that the version of you that said yes to everything, that bent until it nearly broke just to keep the peace, that smiled through betrayal and called it maturity, that version has served its purpose, and continuing to wear it now would be like wearing armor made of paper into a battle made of iron. What is coming will demand discernment sharp enough to recognize the voice of God in a room full of noise. It will demand courage heavy enough to walk away from what is comfortable and toward what is correct. It will demand patience, not passive, defeated patience, but the kind that holds steady under fire because it knows the reinforcement is already in motion. And it will demand a heart clean enough to receive blessing without guilt, increase without sabotage, and love without the compulsive need to earn it. None of that can happen if you are still chained to the old. None of that can happen if you enter the new season dragging corpses of dead cycles behind you like trophies of your suffering. The suffering was real. It is honored, but it is not invited forward. So if you feel it, if something in your chest just tightened with the gravity of what is being spoken over your life right now, then do not let this moment pass in silence. Write in the comments, I am ready for the new. Let it be the first act of the version of you that no longer waits for permission to step into what was always meant to be yours. Because this conversation is about to close. And the way it closes will determine whether this was just something you watched or something that marked the exact moment everything turned. This is where everything becomes real, not in theory, not in emotion, not in the fleeting warmth of a message that fades the moment the screen goes dark. This is the moment where something is sealed, permanently, irreversibly, in the deepest chamber of your spirit. And you will know it happened because the air around you will feel different when this is over. Go back through what just took place. Not casually, deliberately. Heaven interrupted your day. Not with noise, not with spectacle, but with precision. You were called by name. The weight you have been hiding was brought into the light, not to shame you, but to free you from the lie that you were supposed to carry it alone. The confusion that has been clouding your steps was renamed for what it truly is. Transition. Sacred. Intentional. Architect-designed transition. And then the future was spoken over you, not as a wish, not as a possibility, but as a certainty that has already been written and is now arriving at the speed of your willingness to receive it. That is not a video. That is a visitation, and a visitation demands a response, not applause, not agreement. A response that moves from the mind into the body, from the body into the spirit, and from the spirit into the atmosphere around you. Something that you do not just think about, but physically participate in, right now, right where you are. So here is what you are going to do. And you are going to do it not because someone told you to, but because your spirit has been waiting for exactly this kind of permission to exhale. Place one hand on your chest. Feel your own heartbeat. That rhythm has carried you through every night you thought you would not survive, every morning you did not want to begin, every season that demanded more from you than you believed you had. That heartbeat did not keep going by accident. It was sustained, guarded, held in place by a hand far greater than your own. Now place your other hand open, resting on your lap or on your stomach, palm facing upward. That open hand represents what you are willing to receive, not what you can earn, not what you can control, what you are willing to let arrive without trying to manage it before it even lands. Now breathe in, slowly. 4 seconds. Fill your lungs like you are making room for something new. Hold it. 4 seconds. Let the stillness remind you that not everything requires an immediate reaction. Some things just need to be held. Now release. 4 seconds. Slowly. Let the air carry out what no longer belongs. The fear, the doubt, the exhaustion of pretending, the guilt of growing beyond people who did not grow with you. Let it leave. It has overstayed. Do it once more. Inhale, 4 seconds. Hold, 4 seconds. Exhale, 4 seconds. And this time, as the breath leaves your body, say these words, quietly, out loud, with whatever voice you have left after everything you have been through. God, I heard your voice. I release what weighs me down. I receive the clarity that comes from you, and I step into the next season with my heart wide open. Now stay still. Do not reach for the phone. Do not start analyzing what you just felt. Do not ask for proof. Do not demand a sign. Just stay in this. Let the silence after those words do the work that no noise ever could. Let the conversation descend from your thoughts into your spirit, from your spirit into your bones, from your bones into the marrow of who you are becoming. Because something just changed. You may not be able to name it yet. You may not see the evidence in your circumstances for days, weeks, maybe longer, but the shift is done. The agreement has been made. The old contract has been torn, and a new one has been signed, not in ink, but in breath, in surrender, in the most honest words you have spoken in a very long time. This was not entertainment. This was not content. This was a divine appointment that you almost scrolled past, but you did not. You stayed. You listened. You breathed. You spoke. And that decision, that single, quiet, unspectacular decision to stay, will be the hinge that every blessing from this point forward swings upon. You are not the same person who pressed play at the beginning of this video. The one who pressed play was tired, heavy, confused, and unsure if God was even paying attention. The one sitting here now has been spoken to, seen, unburdened, and redirected, and that version does not go back, so seal it. Write your final declaration in the comments. I heard and I will obey. Let those words be the last nail in the coffin of the old season. Let them be the first brick in the foundation of everything that is coming, and let them stand as evidence to heaven, to the enemy, and to your own heart, that this was the moment you stopped surviving and started stepping into what was always yours. Amen. And to keep expanding your mind and connecting with God, click the video that is appearing on your screen right now.